I'm sitting down today once again with Mandy. So how's it going, Mandy?
It's really well, thank you, Etienne. We had a conference here this week, and so it's been pretty full on, but yeah,
Love it, love it. I just want to
made
make
it
sure
back
that
in time.
cool. We had to change a lot of things in our trading or in our life to become traders, and like we were talking before, we could talk about 100 of those, but we'll try to focus on five today. Five that are kind of the most important. And Mandy, what do you want to start? I think we could start with one. What is one thing that you had to change in your life or in your trading to become a profitable trader?
Well, one thing, So I was actually laughing when you said one thing because oh my God, it was like one thing every 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's really been interesting, Etienne, because as everybody would agree, trading is really a journey to becoming a better person. And I also say for me, it's become a journey of finding out who I am, what I'm made of, and um, the potential that I have, potential that I never knew I had and never thought possible, to be honest. So the biggest thing for me was to become honest with myself, because we all want to be a certain kind of person. We all want to be good people, I was a person and didn't see my shortcomings as much. And trading changes that definitely, because when you start dealing with money and you don't treat money with respect, then you need to start asking yourself, how much do you treat yourself with respect? How much respect do you really show other people? If you, if you're struggling with taking your losses, then you're not honest with yourself, right? Because the reality is you said that you're going to do something, you're not doing it. So you're lying to yourself. Are you lying to other people as well? And now I never saw myself as someone who was lying to other people. And yes, there was this white lie here and white lie there. But I had to become honest with myself in terms of, yeah, saying I take my loss at this point and not taking it, that's a lie. Lying to myself, lying to the markets, lying to the people I love. And that was pretty tough, that was really tough to accept. And on the flip side, that was one of the major, major turning points for me when I started becoming honest and not looking at myself as someone I wish I were, but really looking at if if I turn down the volume on the TV of my life, what is it that I see rather than what I hear myself speak? So if
Love
you
it.
want one, that was the biggest one for me.
Cool, cool. And so, but this doesn't happen like overnight. It's not something you do and then you change the next day. So, what was the process for you to change this way, and what did you had to do yourself?
So the process started with self-awareness, of course. And self-awareness sounds so easy, right? But
Yeah.
there's so much more to self-awareness than looking in the mirror or, looking at your navel. Self-awareness needs to be a process, needs to be progress, needs to be planned, and needs to have a strategy behind. Self-awareness is not beating yourself up. Self-awareness is not putting yourself down. Self-awareness is not um, playing a small game. Self-awareness is purely observing yourself and write down, right? What are the promises that I make to myself, to others on a daily basis? Do I say that I'm going to meet with a friend for lunch? And then, 1 hour before lunchtime, I don't feel like going because something else comes up. And then I cancel. It can be something basic as that, but if we don't write down what our behavior is, we easily forget because we want to forget. We don't want to remember how we were unreliable, how we let our friends down. So, for example, so I was at the conference, as I said before, and I really wanted to stay at the conference. I met some amazing people and had the time of my life. But I promised my friend, my best friend, to come to her welcoming the baby lunch. And I went. And I knew I missed out at the conference, and I was very sad about it. But also I was proud about it that that I went to my friend's party because I knew how important it was. And I didn't justify myself by saying, "Oh, there's 10 other girls. She doesn't need me." I knew that everyone that came to the party brought something special, and I had something special to bring to her as well. And she was so happy to see me because she knew what a sacrifice I made, and she appreciated and respected that. And I'm proud of myself that I was my word. So that's where it starts. You write down what promises you make to yourself. And again, my favorite example, do you make to yourself the promise that you do your dishes every time after dinner? Because after dinner, we have eaten, we are tired, we want to watch TV or want to chill or want to watch the markets here in Australia. And do we say, I do that, and then we stop after a few days? You have broken your promise. You have lied to yourself. If you lie to yourself in the little things, how can I know that I can trust you in the big things? How am I with money? How do I treat $20? If I'm not to be trusted with respecting $20, how can I be trusted to respect $200, Etienne?
Yeah.
And I was not to be trusted when I started out, and I didn't see that. I saw myself as a good person, and I didn't see all those shortcomings that I had. But in trading, they jumped me into my face, and they were like, oh, holding on, and it was tough. And that was, over years, and I still have to look in the mirror and say, what was that about? What did I do that for? Was it my ego? Because I've got a big ego, I have to admit. But I also want to use my ego as a driving force to do good in the world and to become the best version of myself, rather than to be hurtful or to tear others down, or to not use it as a force of good. And it was really interesting because I had this chat with Damon Pavlados today. Amazing guy, so generous. Like, this guy is massive, right? He was in the pits with Paul Tudor Jones and Monroe and Toby Crabell, like all the big guys at the time. He was their broker. He executed for them. And yet he's so humble, and he was just sitting there and telling stories. And he said, because he also has what's it called? He also has a software. He's like a brokerage, white label brokerage that he's running. And he said to me, it's so important that you also look at what expenses you have when it comes to your broker. How much slippage do you have? And he calculated, on average, if he were to just save 1 point on the S&P over the year, wherever he could save a point, I think it was like $4,000 a month that he could save. Now, of course, they're trading a little bit bigger contracts, but it doesn't matter, if you can save $40 a month on a contract because you're smart with slippage, or using the right broker who doesn't have too big a spread, or there's so many hidden costs as well with brokers nowadays. And I have to laugh because there's this guy Alba Capital Management on Twitter, and he is an ex-Paul Tudor Jones guy, and he was not used to retail platforms. When he looked at he trading Saxo and IB, he always complains on Twitter that they're thieves because they're charging really high prices for swaps, for slippage. They don't. So when you're trading Forex, you, depending on which pair you're on, you earn on one pair and you pay on the other pair. And they wouldn't do that. They would only make you pay on one pair, right? But you wouldn't earn on the other to offset. And things like that I never knew about, Etienne. Never. Until I saw Alba's tweets. I'm like, wow. And then I called my broker and I tried to understand more, and I Googled and I asked other guys, and I realized how much my broker's charging me. That is actually not, he's not supposed to charge me that. But he can, because he's an MT4 broker, so I can choose to trade with him or not. So I started to complain and to negotiate, and I got a little bit of leeway, but not much. But we don't think about that, do we? I don't know about you, Etienne, but I used to fight for every dollar profit that I can make,
Yeah,
or
of
let's say
course.
every point profit.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of how we used to
And
start. We used to enter at the low of the move and then exit at the very high, or try to exit at the very high, which won't really work long term. But that's kind of how we
yeah,
all start. Yeah.
but then unknowingly, I would waste so much money on not knowing how to claim my tax properly.
Uh huh.
Because tax is boring. Oh, who wants to deal with tax?
That's a good point.
As a businesswoman, I do what needs to be done to run my business successfully. I don't do what I feel like doing. Yeah. Then, um, I would fight for every point, but then I wouldn't know that I make $100 profit on my trade, and I overpaid $20 to my broker because my broker has those hidden fees in the swaps and the
Yeah.
in the rollover and so on.
What did you have to do
And
for to
now,
discover that? Was it talking with different traders, or was it yourself going to the broker asking them, or how did you find out
no,
about this?
so I found out about this because Alba, he
Mm.
was tweeting about his broker being a thief, and that's Alba, how he talks.
Okay.
So not necessarily that there's thieves. So you complained about his broker overcharging because he knew what the real prices are as a professional institutional trader.
Hmm. So that's again
Now
being
we
surrounded by traders, not just being yourself and trying to do everything yourself, because that won't really work.
exactly,
Love
yeah,
it.
and
Love
being
it.
surrounded by traders who know,
Yeah.
so institutional traders. Yeah.
Perfect. Love it.
And we are lucky because on Twitter they're all hanging out there. Like Tony Sycamore in Alpha Hub, so Matt Starkey, those guys, they're all ex Goldman Sachs and institutional guys. So I then went to those guys and I asked them. I said, what did you guys pay when you were professional traders? And then they laugh and they say, well, not what you retail guys pay, or what we now as retail guys pay as well. And that's the first time when I found out, Etienne. And so now I'm being a little bit smarter
Hmm.
about my trades. And Linda Rushke, she said that as well today in her presentation when she did backtesting. She would backtest, but so when she would create a new strategy, she would backtest her strategy over many, many, um, many years back. But what her backtest would not show was she being taken out when the spread was blown out? And so she would run a second backtest over it and would look at tick data, because the tick data would show her if she was blown out because there was a massive spread. And of course, you don't want to be executed out of your trade on a big spread because you pay so much.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that Damon said today as well. He said, when you enter, you can see the spread, right? But when you exit, you most of the time don't see the spread if you have your profit target and your stop loss. You don't know at what spread you got taken out. So I could have been taken out at the 10 pip spread at the
Hmm.
euro, or I could have been taken out at half a pip spread. I don't know. So when you are being taken out on a 10 pip spread, you give a massive amount of profits back to the broker.
Yeah.
And so here you are fighting for every pip, every $10 move. And then on the other side, you give it back because you don't consider the tax that you could save, you choosing a better broker who doesn't charge you or doesn't slip you as much, and so on, who has better tools that you can use. So that's another thing that Linda Rushke was talking about today. Having a software program that automates as much as possible and gives you really good tools to work with. I never thought about that. Well, I'm a discretionary trader. I'm not an EA trader. You know more about EA trading than I
Hmm.
do. But yeah, I could go on and on and on about that, Etienne.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Just a bit quiet today, so we don't have any people watching, but that's totally fine. If you guys have any question, comment in the chat. We want to make sure we answer your question. And the best live we had are the one where people they ask question, they comment, and we can focus on what you guys want to hear, which is always better. So, Mandy, any other change you had to make as a trader to become profitable? And I know for me, like, there's a bunch, but I kind of want to get your experience because I've talked about it so much in the past that I feel like repeating myself all the time, and it's not really good for people. But yeah, go ahead if you have any idea on that.
So the very first thing, as I said, was becoming honest with myself and looking at myself without the filter of this is the person I want to be, and then look at who am I really. The second key point was my personality naturally is not really suited for being a good trader. And so I had to work a lot on my personality profile to change that. And I had to discover first who are the kind of traders who are successful, and then being able to model myself on that. So that comes back to the conversation, Etienne, that we had a few times where I said, I'm really bad at structure. I'm really bad at organizing myself. It doesn't come natural to me. And I feel sorry for you because you always have to hunt me down because I don't answer.
Sorry.
And I'm working on that, I promise. It's a real, that's my Achilles, how do you call it? That's my weak spot. And so I needed to learn how to add structure into my life, how to be organized better. And I'm still learning. So, that's when I said I look at other traders who are organized. So Tom Dante is the one I chose to model with his demon finder. He's so super organized with different spreadsheets, with different statistics that he keeps. His trading plan is step by step, really fully detailed, written out. And so I modeled what he does, and that helped me to organize myself. And I had to laugh, I always say one of the things that I do now is when I wash my laundry, I put all my socks into one laundry thing to keep them together and then hang them up together and put them together into the drawer. And because life has been on a whirlwind the last 3 days, I didn't do that in the last washing, Etienne. I just put everything to the washing machine. I was tired and then put it out and just put it on the line to dry. And this morning I missed my train because I couldn't find 2 matching socks. Can you believe it? So,
That's cool. Yeah.
It seems something so small, but it just takes 2 minutes to see do they match, and then you have missed your time. Now the train was not a big deal because then I hopped on the tram, and I live quite close to the city and to the beach. And so it wasn't a big impact. Now take that in the context of trading, because how we do one thing, we do everything. If I do that in the context of needing to catch my train and knowing that and getting up early enough and still missing it, what do I miss in the markets because I get late to my computer?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it goes back to becoming honest with myself.
And I guess the other part with that goes with the fact of like how you get back. Because I used to trade, have a bad time, and then not get back properly, or like take a week to get back and take a week to start trade again, or start trade again but trade wrong. So the way you get back to, I think, is really important when you want to become profitable.
So what do you mean with the way back?
So let's say you have a bad period. Let's say you have a big drawdown, or you have a series of bad losing trade.
Yeah.
But then like you wait like 2 weeks to get back to the market because you feel bad about yourself. You don't know what to do, and then or you get back quickly, but then you take the wrong trades. So kind of the way you reframe the loss you had and get back is for me a big change I had to make.
That is a really great conversation, Etienne. Because again, when we are feeling bad about ourselves, then it's like our view is fogged. And when I had dinner with the guys on Thursday, one of them asked me, he said, what I don't get is, I get that you do trading psychology with like the big guys who already know how to trade and, they're super successful, and that you teach them psychology or, teach them the right mindset or help them to enhance their mindset. But he said, I don't get why you work with traders who don't have enough experience. Don't they need first all the tools to become successful in trading, and then mindset is useful? And I said to him, if you're in your car, and he's got a really funky car, right? Like nice car, Aston Martin kind of car. And, one of the nice ones. And I said, and your windscreen is fogged up. And I know you have a powerful engine, and you want to drive down to, to Mornington Peninsula, which is a wine area here, about an hour from Melbourne. And you punch into your GPS, I want to get to the Red Hill Winery. Will you get to the Red Hill Winery? And he said, no, because I can't see. My windscreen's fogged up. And I said, that's exactly the point. When you are cloudy in your mind because you have mindset issues that show up in other areas of your life as well, and no matter what kind of tools I put into your hands, you will not be able to trade successfully because your mind is cluttered. Your heart is hurting from the past, and we need to heal that first. We need to heal your heart, and we need to clear your mind. So my favorite 3 C's are clarity, so remove the fog; certainty, that is for me healing the heart. When we heal the heart, the shame and the pain from the past and the guilt, then you get certainty. And clarity and certainty, they give you the confidence that everybody's talking about. But we need to get through clarity and certainty in order to get to confidence. And everybody talks about, I want confidence. Mandi, help me to be confident. Well, let's do that, but we have to go first back to clarity and certainty, and then confidence will be just there on a silver platter, waiting for you.
So I kind of understand certainty, but how do you get clarity? Is it something you get over time, or is it something you have to get a mentor to develop, or how does that work?
So when you have a lack of clarity, or traders who have a lack of clarity, that is always, always, always going back to the way they think. They're usually people who think what we call in ambiguous terms. To give you an example, I was working with a trader, and bless him, I gave him a really hard time. He was almost crying, poor guy. But I need to be tough because I know when you get through this wall of fog and you come out at the other end, your whole life changes. And I need to be tough. And it's hard for me because I'm not a tough person. I don't like to push people, but I have to. So it was really tough for him, and he was so good. He was so he pursued, and he made it through. So as he said to me, so I said to him, how do you trade? And he showed me how he traded. I'm like, dude, you need some more tools. He's like, okay. So I gave him homework, and we met again. And he said, you know what? I have the feeling I didn't explain to you exactly how I trade because you had this bad impression of me. And then I said, well, what is it that you wanted from me? And how could I have helped you? And he said, well, I could have been more focused by explaining you. No, when I explained to you my trading strategy, I could have been more focused. And I said, how so? Well, I could have been more I can't remember. So he used focused. He used patient. I could have been more patient explaining you. Okay, so how do you do that? And so he stayed in those fluffy words like focus, patience, discipline, and they don't mean anything, Etienne. They're just states of feelings, states of mind. I can induce in you feeling focused and disciplined and patient at any moment because it's just something that we make up in our mind. It's not tangible. I said, what specifically do you mean with focused? And then he said, I could be more patient. So what specifically do you mean with patience? I could be more disciplined. What specifically do you mean with disciplined? And he stayed on that blah, blah, la, la, la level. And then we went down to, well, discipline actually means, focused meant that I could have given you a step-by-step insight into how I look at the market rather than being general blah, blah, not giving you really good steps. Does it make sense?
Yeah. It's
So,
kind of a big process, yeah.
yeah. So traders who don't have clarity, they are talking on a level that is ambiguous. Focus doesn't mean anything. So you need to be specific in what you are trying to say. So I should have showed you step by step exactly what is it that I'm looking at. I could have asked you, how would you look at the market? What's the very first thing that you look? So learning from me, right? From my experience. And when you want to move from cloudy, foggy into clarity, become specific. Get away from ambiguous words and use words that you can take and actually do something with, like step-by-step approach, looking at my statistics. So he could have shown me his statistics, for example, and then I could have seen immediately where his weaknesses are. So Linda Rushke said to me today, also you're a DAX trader. How come? Because you're German? I said, no, actually, because I started because, Linda is really good friends with Steve Ward as well. So of course you had to talk about Steve Ward, whom you interviewed as well from High Performance Global. And so we both adore him. And I said, Steve was the guy who taught me how to keep my statistics. That going back to, again, I'm really bad at keeping statistics, at being organized. And that was something that I learned from Steve to begin with. And then when I started keeping my statistics, I realized that I suck at trading gold. Do not touch gold. Not that I'm not tempted, but I do. And trade DAX, because my statistics showed that this is the market I perform best in. And I perform best trading the DAX at the opening. I'm not doing so well during the session, but at the opening and during news announcements, I'm doing best. That's how I got to trade the DAX. So that is specific, right? It's not, I trade the DAX because I'm German, yay.
Yeah.
And because the DAX moves fast, yay. And because the word DAX sounds so nice.
But I feel like a lot of people do that they hear about a certain market and then they want to trade that, like Bitcoin or like Forex, just move fast, or whatever. Yeah. It's very popular.
Bitcoin, you make millions of dollars. Well, some do, most don't.
Yeah.
And so this is where it comes back to ambiguous and specific. Perfect example.
Love it. I think there's a few comments in the chat that you might want to have a look into, and they're some interesting. So welcome to LTS watching. Shadado, Asaf, thank you for the comment. I like it. That's perfect.
Yeah, so Asaf, I don't know if you saw the interview that I did with Damon, and it was pretty much, we had lunch and Damon was telling us all those amazing stories, and Damon's, by the way, Linda's husband. And then I'm like, Damon, I gotta do a Twitter live with you because it's so interesting. And I just sat him down, and it was really impromptu, and he's such a good sport, and that's all I did. I've never done a Twitter live, so I took my mobile phone and pointed it at him because I couldn't figure out how to swap the screen, so I could hold it to both of us. So, but yeah, it's a really great interview. So I'm contrarian. I'm going to counter everything you say. Go for it, sleeping with sirens. Keep sleeping with sirens, and you get fleas. Whatever works for you. Yeah, Etienne is so super structured and organized.
Yeah.
Really.
Here's the good thing. So I like to be structured, but I like to be simple and keep things simple. And I think people that they think they have to be structured make things too hard sometimes. So that's kind of a common flaw that people go through.
Yeah. And again, that was something that Linda spoke about as well today. She showed us her spreadsheets, and I think I also shared a few Twitter lives when she was speaking. I could only show snippets, unfortunately, because the conference was obviously paid. But so she had like spreadsheets and spreadsheets and spreadsheets that she would fill in by hand, because at the time when she started, there wasn't much going on with computers. It was very basic, not like today. So definitely that's the way to go. Been trading for 3 years. Yeah, whatever, sleeping science. I think, I don't know if you're serious, so I'm kind of... Linda, no, Olivier, I'm Mandi, and Linda, when I say Linda, it's Linda Rushke, and she's one of the most famous traders out there, so I feel flattered that you confuse her with me, but that's not me. Specific application of our website to track yes, I use my FX book as well. Also, I know quite a lot of traders who use Etienne, what is Moritz's product again? Edgewonk.
Edgewonk, yeah.
Who needs Edgewonk? Moritz and Rolf, they're two German guys. Trade Society.
Yeah.
So I, because I'm using MT4, so for me it's easy to just put it onto my FX book. For my IG account, Edgewonk, I can upload Edgewonk as well. When I oversleep, I get scared of trading because I can't focus. Harry, that's amazing. Well done. You should be scared. It's so.
Love that.
Harry says, when I oversleep, I get scared of trading because I can't focus. And it's really true. You know, you start to rush to the computer. You have the sense of missing out. You open the charts and you're worried, did I miss out? Did I not miss out? And you are not focused. You're not settled. You're not grounded. And that's another thing that Linda said. She said no TV in her trading room, no phone. Her phone is in the other room. She's completely focused. No social media, nothing. So if you look at her Twitter account, for example, there is not much interaction. So she tweets, but she doesn't interact because she says she needs to be focused. And that's maybe definitely something that I can learn from her.
Yeah, and I've seen a big difference myself when I was day trading, between day trading while doing similar stuff and day trading only, and it makes a big difference. So for sure,
Yeah.
I've seen that myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with us, Etienne, running, a business as well. So I don't know about you. I know about you. You get as many private messages on Twitter and Facebook like I get, and on LinkedIn, and emails. And so I'm trying to manage everything whilst trading. And it's a lesson of
Yeah.
no, stay focused. You do one thing with your full focus.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all good, Olivier. Nothing to be worried. Sorry about. It's all good. So yeah, cool. Any more questions?
I think that's all. But maybe if you have any other question, comment below in the chat. Once again, if you're watching the replay, comment in the comment box below. We'll make sure to answer your questions. And Mandy, you want to talk a little bit about your program? I know you have something really awesome coming up. A program you're running for a couple of weeks. Talk about this and tell people what they can expect from it.
Yes, that's right. So I am running a group training now. Just started 2 weeks ago, so you guys can still join. And it's purely mindset. It's purely the mindset around trading. So the work that I did with Etienne together is also a little bit about trading strategies and how to build a trading strategy. The program that I'm running is purely mindset. And what this program is an online training where you study on your own, because you don't need me to repeat what you can study on your own. But then we have a Facebook group where you can ask lots of questions, learn from the other guys. And so I'm on the Facebook group and I contribute to the group, and I'm going to have amazing traders who share a little bit of their journeys as well in terms of mindset. So Linda is going to have an appearance, a guest appearance, and Damon. So I'm really excited about it. Tony, TechFX Traders, Alpha Hub. So Matt Starkey is going to have a little chat. So just showing you how the big guys deal with their challenges. So, for example, Matt Starkey, right, Alpha Hub, he's running this Itchy Scalper, which is a little fund that he's running on MT4. He's got it on my FX book. And Itchy Scalper did over the last year a 67% return. So, crazy. And only trades the Aussie dollar. Since the beginning of the year, it's been a little bit tough. So January, February, March, April, Itchy Scalper did not perform well. But if you look at Matt's statistics, they're just amazing. Not one single trade has a bigger loss than 2%. Only 2%. And so now I understand. It's like no wonder those guys perform so well compared to us, because it's just so disciplined. Well, he does what needs to be done so that he can get the returns. And so Itchy Scalper this month made up almost everything that was lost in the first 4 months. January, February, March, April. Yeah. So it shows we all have periods where we don't perform well.
Yeah.
And we need to have an additional system, additional strategy to sit that out. Now, this goes back to being organized, being structured, and that's also what I'm teaching in the program. So I can't remember how I got to meet. That's right. So I got amazing people to show up and give little insights into how they deal with their challenges, because it's part of every trader. Even Damon said he's got challenges. Linda was talking about how she made so many mistakes, and that is so useful. And so the program goes over 10 weeks where you get the online training, and then you can do group mentoring with me every couple of weeks, where you then apply what you've learned in your life. So it's all hands-on with workbook and so on. And in the group mentoring, I then help you to implement it, because that's where I can add value. I cannot add value by teaching you stuff that you can study on your own. That's my time wasted. I can add value by you saying, I applied what you said to apply, and I found it difficult because that is the challenge that I have in my life. I just had a little baby and I can't sleep at night. And you talk about how important sleep is, because as Steve Ward says, sleep deprivation is actually a measure of torture during wars. So traders go out there and try to perform with lack of sleep, especially us here in Australia, right, where we have to trade overnight. So when you have a little baby, how do you do that? How do you perform in the markets and deal with the lack of sleep? Right. So that's then when I come in and I help to give you a bespoke solution almost. And so the training is also set up in a way where I only want to trade with traders who have a goal of becoming full-time traders, because that is how the training is laid out. So we are setting the foundation, the pathway to becoming a full-time trader. And that goes back to what we do in my training is all removing the fog from the windscreen. It's all giving you the clarity and the certainty so you can go with confidence. And then the next step, my program on its own, it's not enough, of course. Then you need to have a GPS. Then you need to have the car. And that's where your program comes in, Etienne. So I would suggest that the trading strategies and the skill set that you teach is like the car and the GPS. But I'm the one who removes the fog from the windscreen, so your guys can actually use your strategies and all the amazing work that you have put into your academy.
Yeah.
Because I get amazing feedback from what you do. So, yeah.
And what I realized that most people, when they have a strategy that they've been trading with for some time, they don't need more strategy. They don't need more technical knowledge. They need that stuff to kind of clean the windshield. And that's exactly what Mandy provides, which is awesome. Yeah, for most people I talk to, that's kind of what they need. Not more setup, not more strategies, not more tools, but kind of a spray for the windshield. Which is
Exactly.
what Mandy provides. Love that.
And so you get kind of like the tools, like the spray and the wipers, because you can take those tools and you can take those videos and you keep them and repeat it over and over again. Because what happens is we start at a certain level. You get my tools, you get Etienne's tools, you grow to a next level, and then your windscreen fogs up again because it's like, you want to increase in size. And it's like, oh man, I behave like a newbie trader again. What's wrong with me? And then you go back and you use the same tools again. And then you go to the next level. Mm-hmm. And life is like that. Like even for me, and even Linda said, she's still learning and she still has those moments when she plateaus and when life doesn't go her way. Yeah. And then she goes back, she works with Steve. So he's like calling Steve. It's like, Steve, what do I do? Right? So there you go.
On a slightly different topic, I don't know about you, Mandy, but on a slightly different topic, I don't know about you, but for me, like there's this common saying in the success industry, I guess, of just do what successful people do and you'll be successful. And for me, like if you apply this trading, which would be applying what traders do in the market, like their style. But for me, whenever I try to do that, apply someone else's style in the market, I would fail. I would be really bad at it. So I don't know, there's something different. You cannot just copy other people in the trading space. You have to develop your own thing, I guess. Would you agree with that?
So true, Etienne, because the thing is that everybody has a little bit of a different personality and behavioral style. So if I were trying to learn your system, then I couldn't trade like you because you're so different to me. However, what I can do is can use tools. So I can apply them. First, I need to understand them, fully understand them, and simply follow the system. And then once I understand that, am I still on? Because I get like
Yeah, we have a
a
really
warning
bad.
that my
Yeah,
sound video is.
we have a pretty bad internet on your
Okay,
side.
this one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's no good. Is it better now or?
I think yeah, it's getting better. I think yeah, that was better.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good, perfect.
So there is just basic rules of how you can read the market, but I'm a detail-focused person. I'm not a big visionary. So if I want to trade with like harmonics, which is big visionary, big picture, I find it incredibly hard to understand. So what I needed to do is I needed to teach myself to become a big picture person. But my entries are all based on small picture, on detail. My entries are based on candlesticks. But I need to understand the big picture in order to make better decisions, right? So if I'm a scalper, you're a day trader.
Swing trader.
You trade over.
Yeah.
You're a swing trader. Why? Because that suits your personality. It doesn't suit my personality. Excuse me. So you need to find someone who is similar in your behavioral patterns and your personality makeup, and then maybe follow them. But what I've done is I just studied everyone that I could find and took the pieces that suited me best, suited my personality best. And took my put my own system together out of those elements. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you talk?
Yeah. I totally get that. And here's because most people, what they do is that they find someone who is very successful, making tons of money, and then that's what they're gonna apply. I like that glass, by the way. Cool glass. But yeah, most people
try.
They find someone successful. Yeah, they find someone successful, and they try to just copy that person because they're making tons of money. But they forget that the personality aspect is not really suited for them, and it's not the right thing. So I think that's a kind of small shift, small difference. Instead of copying everyone who's making money, copy those that are like you, that are succeeding, and then you can succeed yourself.
Exactly. That's the best example. Or if you want to look at what someone does who makes millions of dollars, look at the elements that resonate with you. Yeah? Look at what is it that they do that resonates with you that you understand. So I'm a really bad options trader because I don't have a numbers brain.
Yeah.
And most hedge fund guys that I know, they trade options as well as direct, futures trades. So if I want to model them trading options, I can't because I just don't have the brain for it. I could sit down and develop the brain if I choose to, but I don't know if I have to because what I'm doing kind of works for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm using options. I'm looking at options in the within the boundaries of what I'm capable of naturally, because I choose to.
Love it. Maybe last question to finish off with a question from Ari. When you trade the news, they have a wider stop loss. And that's going to be for you because I don't trade the news. So you have to answer that.
So I'm not trading with a stop loss when I trade the news because the spread usually gets widened so much, and I don't know how much. I'm literally sitting there on standby, ready to press my button. And so when I trade the news, I have a very simple system. I only enter the trade. So news comes out, and usually before the news, the market has been a sideways pattern. And then the 1 minute, it how the spread widens.
Yeah.
So let's say you have the candle opening up here, and then the candle comes down and closes as a doji, as a graveyard doji, and then it starts rolling over to the downside. I go short immediately because by that my spread is back to normal, and then I put my stop loss above the candle only then.
Okay.
So I put a mental stop loss, not a physical one, because on the 1 minute chart, it all goes so quick. I don't want to have to put my stop loss in and being busy with that and missing the rest of the trade, because I need to see how the trade evolves and develops in the first few candles. So if it follows through with energy, with speed, then I know the short will continue. If it doesn't follow through with energy and speed and velocity, then it might fake it and come right way back up. So I can't be busy with focusing on putting my stop loss in and then not having a clear mind to feel the energy of the move of the price action. And that's me, because I'm trading, I'm really feeling based. I'm extremely kinesthetic as well in my daily life. So that's how I trade. Others, they would do it differently, but yeah.
Cool. Love it. Any last word of advice or anything you want to mention people before we leave? I think it's been a good stream. So
Um, so yeah, I think the biggest thing is really become honest with yourself. Look at what promises you make in your daily average life and what little white lies you use, and then look at what you do, how you do that in trading as well. That is
good.
the key for many, and it's really tough. So we rather focus on I can't be disciplined and patient than right underneath there's something else that I need to deal with, and that's confidence. Yeah.
Love that. Love
Does
that.
it make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. And so thanks